engagement and what that looks like in your own terms. So when you think about customer engagement and your segment, because here's the bottom line, guys, we've got a responsibility to serve. Jesus himself said, I did not come to be served, I came to serve and give my life as ransom for many. And so we've got a responsibility in our platforms to be a service to other people, not to be takers, but to be givers. So what does, with that kind of in your mind, what does customer engagement even mean for you?
We're talking about I'm thinking of current customers, not going out and getting new clients or anything like that.
Could be a both and.
Well, current customers for me and my industry would be communication. I mean, that's my biggest challenge, I guess, because in my world, the investors don't want to talk to people. They want a return on their investment. A lot of them are numbers people. They do not want to speak to people. That's the reason they have me. They just want to chat. So when I have to call them for anything, it's a problem. And then you have the same type of person, investor, who doesn't want to deal with the tenants, doesn't want to deal with the maintenance or any of that, but they want you to call them almost every day just to update them on what's going on. So for me, I'm usually the one that brings on the customers or the clients. And then my team and my employees, it's hard to articulate to them, this guy you need to call 3 times a week. This guy, never speak to him. If you see anything from him at all, just send it right to me. They almost have to have a list of every client and then just, what do I do? That's hard. So trying to get it to where we can make everybody happy with one style of communication, that's hard. And then we have all the different types of employees, which Scott has pretty much met them all. So Larry is my lead broker. He's not a people person. So he's very dry. You know, if you ask him a question, his email response will be, yes, thanks, Larry. That's it. But he doesn't think there's anything wrong with that. Somebody takes that as short, like offensive almost, like he's in a bad mood or something. So communication is tough.
So and it's not just broadly communication, it's the fact that you've got how many different clients that you have, and that's how many different means of communication are necessary.
That or just finding a way, like I'm a big rule of 3 type of person. It's just, I feel like anything over 3 is kind of hard to remember. Like 3 rules of our communication, you know, let them know you got whatever they're asking about. So if they email you with a problem, let them know you got their email, fix the problem, and then let them know that it's fixed. So pretty much the rule of 3. And that kind of goes throughout our entire business with contractors. Like, I'm going to show you how to do something. I'm going to tell you how to do it. Then you do it, and we'll go through it. And it's not going to be right, you know, not necessarily. Just historically, it hasn't. So the next time, I expect it to be at least 50% better. And by the 3rd time, we either need to be on the same page or we're not. Rule of 3, hiring. I always, you know, you're kind of on a trial basis for 3 months or 1 quarter. It's easy. So trying to get that rule of 3 in communication is hard for me. Different types of clients, different types of employees, putting it all together, and they're like, well, I thought we weren't supposed to call them all the time. Well, this guy wants to be called all the time. What do we do?
If you guys were to define customer engagement for you, like, what's the point? Why would we even spend time talking about this? What's the point of that for you, through your own window?
I think the initial response is, unfortunately, trying to turn a profit, trying to make a sale, trying to make money. But even listening to Simon Sinek's Sinek, it all starts with why. And if we're really talking about customer engagement, our why are we wanting to be engaged would be to, how can I help you? How can I help you win? How can I help you be successful? Whatever it is that you're doing. How can I help you have the most beautiful home? You know, what do you need from me? What can I do to help you? And if it's an attitude of service, it's an attitude of giving, or, you know, giver's gain, then we'll approach the customer interaction completely different, because we're not looking for our own interest, but we're looking at the interest of somebody else.
Yeah, customer satisfaction. but also to get that feedback. It'll come back automatically. Once you're giving them what they need and you're listening and doing, you get that automatic feedback that improves your business tenfold.
Can I jump in,
Going
Bill?
back to the money, I mean, that comes with that.
Do you guys all use the customer satisfaction? As soon as I hear that, it drives me nuts. Because when I go to a hotel, like Hampton the other day, it was like, your satisfaction is guaranteed. I don't want to be satisfied. I mean, how many customers want to just be satisfied? So even like the customer satisfaction, that language, I think, I don't know how, do you guys use that at all? Because it's like, I think most companies, they
Not
talk
anymore.
Yeah, okay.
Not anymore.
Okay.
We've changed our attitude, and I think that the customer happiness actually, what I think is best is that it then spurs on the team. And we want to make sure our people are happy first.
Yeah.
And how can our people be happy? It's not more money or anything like that. It's actually the enjoyment that they get out of working with them. And I think that you can probably attest to this. You guys have a blast doing your job. Just an absolute blast. I'm not sure that the man underneath the crawl space is having a
It's
blast. My guys out in the field, measuring rough openings.
Yeah.
It's not exciting, but when they get to do something for the customer, and this is happening, so I'm glad that I'm here right now. With us, is we're getting this unbelievable feedback. We started a YouTube channel. We bought a drone.
Awesome.
We're doing these little videos and these silly things. We're trying to get silly. We're not as silly as you are yet, but we're trying to do that. And we're getting this phenomenal feedback.
Tell them some of the emails you got. You passed
The one client said that she almost drove off the road and she was trying to watch the video. She said it was unbelievable. Her husband started crying. We've got one client where they actually reached out to us. Hey, the home that we're getting ready to build with you it's part of our anniversary present, 20 year. So and she was like, is there anything that you guys can think of that would be cool, like some kind of a picture or something like that? Well, picture would be lame. So what we're going to do is we're going to have them come down. We're going to have a limo that's sponsored by one of our vendors, pick them up at the hotel. We're going to have dinner. The house is going to be framed. We're going to have dinner. Me and Josh, the superintendent, we're going to get tuxedo t-shirts and go down to Buffalo's, because it's in Palmetto Bluff, take their order, whatever, and have a photographer there. Just make it kind of cool and silly, and the wine and everything else. And when the limo picks them up, now the limo is literally the place that they're staying is 3 minutes from their house. They would 3-minute walk, picking them up in a limo. I'm hoping that Chris and Katie can be in the limo, the owner of the company, drive around Palmetto Bluff for 20 minutes, have a drink, and then they drop them off at the house, and that's when Josh and I take over.
That's awesome.
So something like that. I mean,
Well, they're talking about it. See, that's the thing.
So memorable,
With customer engagement, are they talking about you? And that's the key. We always think there's a difference between marketing and attention. If you're creating attention, they're talking about you. You can market, and they might be talking about you. So what you're doing, that whole thing, is creating a lot of attention, and now they're going to talk about you.
but it's also making me fired up. Josh is fired up. His wife is fired up to
Yep.
put it together.
And then you
Everybody's sharing ideas throughout the company.
Love it.
She threw in, like, she's all excited about doing it. She has nothing to do with the project. But I just sent out, the email to the entire company, and
That's awesome.
it's firing people up. And I think you could see that the other night when we had a dinner. Everybody and their spouses. We set up a room over at Truffles, had a dinner, and just talked about, okay, we are going to focus on the customer experience. We know how to build houses. It's easy. It's really easy. But the customer experience is what we're focusing on. Everybody's focusing on that, from the accounting office that never even deals with the client. They're focused on it.
So now everyone's more engaged.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the key.
So there's something you said, Steve. It's not about building houses. So if we replicated that around the room, it's not about foaming houses. It's not about leasing properties. It's not about landscape supply, selling plants, doing those things. It's not about a baseball game, which Jesse's been incredibly upfront with. I had a call yesterday with a guy, home builder. I didn't talk to the owner. Somebody else called me within the business. And I basically told him, I said, we had a great conversation, but I said, you need to understand something. What you build is a commodity. $900,000 home. Like, you don't like to hear that your $900,000 home is a commodity. And she goes, ooh, yeah, the owner, he wouldn't like that statement. I said, well, talk me through it. Why wouldn't, kind of explain to me why it's not a commodity. I said, because when I drive down the road in a nice neighborhood, what I see is beautiful houses everywhere. I don't see one and then a bunch of trash houses. I see beautiful houses everywhere. I'm an untrained eye. I don't know who built that house. And so the house to me is a commodity because I don't know. But the process to get there, the relationships to get to that house, that's not a commodity. That's the point where, Steve, you're talking about it's not about building a house. You're exactly right. And that's where I think this customer engagement discussion, customer happiness, I even like calling out the customer satisfaction thing and ditching that away and really looking at our verbiage and saying, what are we using when we talk about the people that we have the privilege of serving and what's our end game with it. So just to kind of recap a couple of things, one of the purpose of engaging customers is how can I help you? You're asking the question, how can I serve you? The second is it's how we learn. It's how we get feedback. So if you're engaging the customer, that's the only way you're going to get feedback. Well, it's the only, I guess, planned way you're going to get feedback. You might get it other ways. And the third is it generates buzz. It generates conversation about who you are and about who they are. Because when they tag a picture that they're standing in one of your properties or spaces or, events or whatever, now it tells the world who they are, what they like. And so they're able to create a buzz around that. So that's the purpose of it. I want to go back to something, Les, that you brought up, but you didn't articulate this. And I think this is a struggle for a lot of people. How do you scale customer engagement? How do you scale customer engagement and yet the customer still walks in and feels like they're the only one? Can you scale customer engagement?
That's actually a little bit of an issue with my industry because I have certain clients that come in and they're like, how many properties do you manage? And that's a tough question because I don't know
What they're looking for.
Yeah. We want to know if you are large enough that you have processes and teams and stuff to be able to take care of major issues, or am I just going to be another person? So I want a smaller company, so I'm more of
I think a
a
great question would be to ask back, says, what do you gain by knowing how large I am?
Well, I asked them, what are you looking for
What are you
exactly?
looking
And
That's the impression, though.
And that's tough. It's like, well, what are you looking for? Are you looking for, and then I start off like we have our own renovation guys. We have our own day-to-day maintenance guys. And that's mainly what they're looking for, these clients, because that's the problems that they have with other companies. So that usually answers the question, but I've only had one client and he wants himself to be the only client of mine. He wants me to have no one else. He wants to be talked to all the time. And his question the other day was, and I think I told you this, he said, how large do you plan to get? Or what's your number? How many properties do you want? I said, I don't have a number. That doesn't matter to me. And he said, well, who's your competition? And then I did answer with, I'm my competition. I don't compete with these other people. They do their own thing. I'm just trying to get better than I was yesterday. Good. Keep doing that. But he was like, he just kept, and he keeps on. He's like, I want to be talked to all the time.
No.
He always finds something wrong. I don't like the way that this invoice is done. I found this invoice. He just went on Google and,
Can you let them go?
I mean, I could, but he was one of the owners that brought a whole bunch of properties on that we were brand new, so, it did help me hire other employees and stuff like that. And I look at it and I tell my employees, like, they all hate him. And I'm like, listen, he's our challenge. If we can make him happy, everybody else is already happy. If we can make him
The question is, we run our fuel making it happy.
That's right.
That's the thing. If he's gonna be a problem, then yeah, we'll let him go. But some of the stuff, like, I don't know, 50% of the stuff he brings up, like, we could do better, or we messed up. So I use it as, hey guys, we can do better than this. Let's keep going. But that's the type of guy who's like, I don't want you to get any bigger. I want to be the only.
Has he ever been happy, like for a long period of time?
No, I don't
Okay,
think so.
so it's not going to change.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
But
And I think,
it's tough.
as far as that, I was sitting there thinking about the guy at Fripp Island. Remember last summer?
Mm-hmm.
We had a guy at Fripp, and he just ripped us a new one. And I called Scott and talked to him about it, and he said, well, can you afford to do it for free? I said, well, yeah. So the guy had wrote me a check. I had a deposit. I went back out there. I said, I'll have a meeting with you. And one of my other salesmen was the one that sold it. And because my mission, one is believe a reputation. So I went in there and sat down, and I went through the whole mission statement with him and his wife, and went down, sat down anyway, and I said, I didn't come here to, explain everything. I said, but I did come here to do one thing. He said, what's that? I had to check in my hand. I said, here, you can take this back. He said, what do you mean? And I said, no, I'm good. Obviously, we didn't make you believe in who we are and your job. And I said, so we did your job for free, so don't worry about paying me a dime. And he was like, no, let's work something out. And I was like, no, you don't owe me a dime. Back and forth. I talked to David yesterday, literally yesterday, that's what made me think about this. In this past 6 months, this guy sent us over 7 jobs. Wow. And went back and done another job for him. Wow. So by me deciding to check back to him and say, well, I'm sorry, we just can't make you happy, he ended up becoming a great customer and has sent us tons of work out of fruit.
And that's tough to teach your employees. Like, in a situation, you can actually now create a customer for life. That's the same. It happens all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, we had one fan that was really upset because he couldn't buy tickets because they're sold out. He's like, I came to all the games last year. How come you're all sold out? So I wrote him this long thing, and like within 15 minutes, and he was blown away that the owner reached out to him, and he found ways. We helped him out, and now he literally goes on the media talking about what we're doing. And so you can fix things and make it much better that way.
So that highlights the one-on-one interaction. So the question is, how do you scale? Can you scale? Is it even possible?
One-on-one with the owner to the customer?
To the customer, or with anybody to the customer. You got thousands of customers. You got thousands of customers that are part of your business.
Is the question teaching your employees to be able to treat it the exact same way as an owner would? Is that what you're saying? I mean,
the question is, how do you scale engagement?
I think everybody has to be trained up to respond in somewhat of a similar manner, because you can't do one-on-one with every unsatisfied customer that comes to the door or comes to the game or whatever. You can't. So the employees, the team members have to be trained up to how to handle certain situations. It goes back to the old, was it not Ruth Chris, but Ritz-Carlton. They give each one of their employees a $2,000 budget per year to handle customer dissatisfactions, and so they get that. They empower. We hate that word empower, I know, but they empower the team members to handle those customer interactions and manage those so that they'll take care of it, because the owner cannot come back around of Ritz-Carlton and handle every one of those complaints. So I think it goes back to it's teaching and empowering and training them to how to respond when this situation happens, how to respond. But again, every situation is different. We had it happen to us the other day, and we delivered 89 stone and not 789 stone, so we're missing the size 7 rock in the gravel. So if I'd have known it was 89, I would have bought it. So here's your $400 back, and just get back to him, and he was thankful, So
people are surprised by refunds. A lot of companies fight. If you teach your younger people say, "Hey, have money in your pocket. If you want to take care of us, take care of them." It's amazing how, because parents are like, really, most companies know you can't refund. I want that $30, that $40. It's such short-term thinking by businesses to think about that. Give them money. It doesn't matter. You actually might create a better fan or a better customer.
Sometimes plants die within 24 hours. Unfortunately, it's kind of like people. Sometimes they just don't wake up the next day. So plant might die, so we just go on back in with, even though we have no warranty on our plants, but hey.
Because for me, guys, here's a question I've got, is we've got a virtual team, right? A couple of virtual assistants, and they could certainly do some things in terms of engagement. They could send somebody a book. There's a variety of things they could do. But with me, how do I take my situation where I'm coaching people, and it's a very much more personal kind of business, and quote scale that engagement so that I can deliver even more than what I try to deliver now. And don't just look at it as me, but that kind of situation, because when you've got a big staff, I think it's not easier, it's still very, very challenging, but you've got something to disperse it to.
It's easier to delegate.
It's easier to delegate, as long as you've got the discipline to train, which...
But you also got the culture at the base.
Right.
And the culture has to be grown out, when you're that big of staff or whatever.
So, which one of you, how many of you would say right now you've got a culture that customer engagement is locked in to the culture of the team?
I think we did. For sure.
We're getting there.
We need work.
No. To me, that's where ideas meet reality. Is when you go, all right, this is kind of the uncomfortable moment where I go, now what do we do? Because we understand what the purpose of it is. The purpose is clear, and the purpose we probably haven't even touched on the majority of the great value and purpose of customer engagement. But we've talked about some of it, and then we've even talked about a little bit of how you scale in terms of just leveraging team members in your team. But it goes back to training. I mean, yeah, a couple of you guys have heard me tell you that the Pal Sudden Service story, Tom Crosby, that guy, a little 30 house hamburger shop up in East Tennessee, and those guys train. And the famous quote at the end of that HBR article is, what if you spend all that time and money in training and they leave? And he says, what if we don't and they stay? You know? And so training is absolutely crucial with that. What's the barrier to get us to take a harebrained idea about going to buying a drone and doing customer flyovers on their concrete pours and whatever, and just send that to them raw? Y'all got to see it. I mean, it's really cool what they've done. Or what takes that idea and, like, it doesn't just happen once, but next thing you know, you got 40 of them over the next 6 months or 12 months or whatever. How do we build that into the culture to where, because let's be honest, if Jesse didn't have a lot of substance at his games, but had the fun, I wouldn't even care if the players took the field. I couldn't tell you in the few, I don't know, we've probably been to maybe 3 or 4 games in the last 2 years. I can't even tell you who won the games. I don't know. I know that you lost your last one. I do know that one. That's pretty obvious statistically, as long as you didn't have a championship. But I can't tell you who won. I couldn't even come close to what the scores were at the games.
And most people don't care. That's the crazy thing that most sports operators don't realize.
And so how do we do engagement to where they don't even care about spray foam or the house or their tenant contract or the plant? They're just so excited to be a part of it that the details, I forgot to send you that invoice. I don't care, whatever. This was a great experience. How do we get?
Well, it's what matters most. How do you simplify what matters most?
Yes.
So like in my industry, in Jarrett's, I would assume be close to mine, is where would that client just, a day or two and not, 6 months or years with you? How would you, how do you know when you start with something like that?
Mm-hmm. But the thing is, every one of us has a challenge. He's with a customer for 4 hours.
Mm-hmm.
You guys have long customers, you have massive volume of customers. You're with a customer for a long time.
I'm opposite of him, pretty
Yes.
much. You see them 4 hours, and my goal is to keep them for 20 years.
Yeah. And you're like, even though no home builder wants to admit this, you're kind of stuck. Because your name is always tied to that house.
Right, 10 years.
Yeah. Guys, I saw a real estate ad last week in the paper. And it was a resale house, and it said it's a shoreline construction house in the resale ad, is what it said. I forget, it's a lady on the island. She does these 2-page spreads, and you guys have y'all don't have it, y'all already sold it, but it's being resold. It says this is a shoreline constructed house in there. So y'all's name's tied to this stuff. Long term. I'm more the long term side of it, but we've all got those challenges, whatever your flavor looks like. So how do we get to, Jesse, what you talk about, what matters most? How do we lock in on that and just double down? Because spray foam, home building is a home builder, plants are plants. We're all selling commodities, guys, all of us.
I think it goes back to what we were talking about. I was mentioning earlier. It just goes back to the why. When you convince people of why you do what you do, so you're selling them on the value and the belief of why you do what you do, and then from there you're creating the experience, you're creating the opportunity, and it's there's plants out here. Oh yeah. But they just had an unbelievable experience while shopping, while walking the house, while you're spraying, whatever the interaction may be. They've had an experience that goes beyond the product.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a personal experience, whether it comes from the owner, the manager, or just the employee that's been there 2 days. You know, you remember their name, you remember what they ordered, you remember their kids. You know, it makes them, and I don't know if you all know, but I'm building a house, and it's been a torture to deal with them. And it's really been communication horror. If they would have been more communicative, if they would have been upfront, hey, how's your family? This is what's going on. This is the timeline. But I've had to beat everything out of them. I probably wouldn't be as picky as I am being now. You know, I'm to here with them, where I could be a lot more patient. And I think that goes for everything. I mean, with all customers.
Think about when you're on a tarmac, you're sitting there, and nothing's happening. You're not at the gate. You can clearly tell you're not in takeoff line. You're just sitting there. And nobody comes over the radio. And you're just like, bro, it'd be so easy if you just click that button one time and said, hey guys, here's what's going on. And by the way, here's a funny joke, you know, to make you laugh. And then 10 minutes later, do it again. Do it again. How easy that would be. There's two things that you guys said so far, because the question that I've written down is, how do we deliver customer engagement consistently over time? It's one thing to come up with the ideas. We can all come up with great ideas. Google will give you great ideas. But how do we deliver that consistently over time for the things that matter most? And the first two things I've heard is, number one, overtell your why. Number two, communicate your process. Well, both of those have to do with communication. Telling your why over and over and over. This is what we do, this is what we do, this is what we do, this is what we do. Every Facebook Live we do now, I start it with, man, I'm so glad it's Monday. I'm so glad it's Thursday. We're here to liberate you from your chaos. That's our why, over and over and over again. The second is to communicate your process, because you're not selling your product. You're selling your process. When a guy asks you, how many homes do you have? He's not asking about your product.
Right.
He's asking me, do you have your process buttoned up?
Mm-hmm.
So how else do we deliver consistently over time? Overtelling our why, communicating our process. How else?
Well, both of those kind of fall under being intentional with your relationships, just like one of our core values.
Nice, man. You're bleeding, man. Drinking the Kool-Aid.
I mean, hey, ever since we've started talking about this whole customer experience and focusing on it, it's, you know, not like the job was stale before, but we built homes, and we know how to build homes, and I've been doing it for over 25 years, and, you know, 2 stories, 3 stories, whatever. I mean, it is what it is, but, you know, having the entire company behind you or involved with the same mindset is pretty awesome. I mean, I've sent you some emails.
Yeah.
Like, check this out. I mean, this is how I feel. You know, I'm re-energized. I wasn't unenergized. I'm re-energized. So I'm even better than I was before, and I feel great about the company. Just from this simple little thing that he did.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, God, it's mind-blowing. And it's focusing on the client. That's why I brought it back to, if you make your people happy, I feel like everything just kind of falls into line and lets them be creative. Chris has no problem spending money. If you come at me with an idea, I'll whatever, do it in a second. And I think that I'm seeing that translate to our clients, that getting some phenomenal feedback.
I think that's one of the biggest things is feedback. I've seen a lot of closed, you know, they come up with billions of ideas and they think they're all going to work, but nobody's listening to the actual customer. Or it could be the actual employees. I mean, feedback is good in staying open to new ideas, to new, what's really going on, what do they really want. You know, one thing is to just hear them and say, yeah, we're going to do it better, and we're going to do this, and we're going to motivate our team. But what are they really saying? What's the core of what does that customer really want? Are we really listening to them? And I think that's a real big challenge in businesses. To sit there and be like, put yourself aside and say, this is what they want.
Scott, I'll share some of the group too that happened on Monday that kind of goes into as far as your employees, getting them all on the same page and going for a bigger purpose. First time ever in 10 years, I told all of our employees, I want you guys to come to us with your salaries. So I let every single person dictate their own salary, which is a scary moment as an owner. And it got scarier once I saw
You
it.
want to start that tomorrow?
Yeah, the story is getting there on why we. So on Monday we had meetings with our entire staff, 12 people, 14, and they came in, and almost every single person asked for between 25 and 33% raises. All right, now these are all millennials; they have no idea what to ask for. So we sat there, and it was a very tough day for my wife and I, not just because of money, but all of a sudden, for the first time in 2 years, the focus now shifted to money. Because we looked at this, we're like, this is a couple $100,000. This is like how are we gonna? We're gonna have to grow so much to cover this. And so I went home that night and I was like, man, that was tough. It was really tough because our people have worked so hard. They're 22 to 24 years old. We're not going to turn them down. But I gave a speech yesterday, our staff chat on Tuesday. I spoke to them. I go, guys, thank you. Thank you for bringing that up. Thank you for, we're going to invest in you. But I'll say right now, this is the last time that we put a focus back on money. I go, why are we doing what we're doing? It's on people. It's on people. It's on ideas. And I said this. I say it. They think I'm crazy. Guys, we're going to change the world. All right, we're going to change the world with what we're doing. We're going to make a difference worldwide. The reason why it was so tough for me is because we focused on money. So the whole focus that we switched from there is no longer are we talking about potentially the dollars that we sell or the ticket. Every single third thing statistic comes down to people. So we have an actual thing called the best email chain ever, which whenever we bring in a new group, new season ticket, we send to the whole company, both teams, and everyone sees, so we're celebrating, constantly recognizing. But it would often say like 100-person outing, $1,500 or whatever. We eliminate that. So we just have from now on 100-person group outing, and no more it's about money. And what's interesting is I've already seen the group in 2 days just get so big, like, wow, we could bring 200,000 people to the stadium. We could actually show 1 million views of our video. And just that shift, even though I thought we weren't talking about money, it was still in everyone's mind. It was actually having them come to ask for money to realize we were all uncomfortable with that situation. And so just bringing it now to where we are, we're going to find a way to take care of the races. But we know now that their focus is 100% on people, people, people. We're trying to grow people and take care of people. And I don't think we'll ever have a money issue again. And I had to have that painful, tough experience to realize that. But I don't know how you guys talk about it. Probably your top people, money is probably talked about a lot. It has to be because that's how you grow a business. If there's ways to find metrics that, I mean, you know how many homes you do or how many land, it all, you know what you're charging, you know what your cost. The money will take care of itself if you take care of how many people, homes, business, whatever you're doing. It was just a shift that we did. So just sharing, actually talk about purpose and why, and it really became crystal clear when we had that tough moment all day. It's like, wow, what were we thinking for letting them come up with their own salaries first? But it worked. I mean, I think it worked. So
That's awesome.
I don't know if it's every industry. I know in mine, I've been talking with Scott about it, but I think dealing with the clients and the employees are completely different with this specific topic because clients that come to me are 100% about money.
Yeah.
It's all about their return. That is it.
I know.
So dealing with them is going to be very, very tough. The employees, I think their salaries are good. They're happy with it. I mean, I could give them a little bit more here and there, but the thank yous that I'm doing, yeah, it costs me money, but I try to make it not about money. Like, just got back from a vacation. I have 4 people that were really in charge of certain things. 2 barely did what I really needed them to do and didn't do it that well. Really, they had some issues, so I didn't get mad at them. I'm working with them, but each person was individually told, you know, what we're gonna do. Like, let's work on this. This is fine. You know, I know you tried here, so try to make it positive with the 2 people that went above and beyond that I did not expect. One guy, he never gets to go fishing. He loves fishing. The only time he gets to go is he goes down to Tybee by himself, and maybe he takes his kid every now and then. They just go to the beach and fish off the beach. That's it. And they never really catch anything. He just likes to go. But he always wants to go fishing, and I don't have time to go do it. So I went and got him a charter with a friend of mine, and I just told him, listen, I want you to come in during the week, just like you pick it, whatever day. You're coming into work, so you don't have to schedule on the weekend, take away time with your family. I'm going to pay you that day, just like you normally would get paid, but I want you to go fishing. So it's going to be you and up to 2 people. You know, it's your son, your dad, whatever. I don't care. That's your day. So, and I said, that's just thanking you for while I was out of town, you went above and beyond. I really appreciate it. Awesome. And then my brother, I just got like a weekend for him. I just got a hotel, dinner reservation in Charleston, and just said, let me know when, but you and your wife go and watch your kid and all that. So it does cost money, but I try to make it as much about them and just take away the value of it, but I think it means a lot more.
Yeah.
So guys, how do we make that consistent over time? Because that's I think that's the bigger challenge. Is coming up with the ideas is minorly challenging. Executing the idea once or twice is more challenging. Executing it consistently over time, to me, that's that if we talk Jim Collins, good to great, to me that's what takes you from good to great. Is when you can deliver that consistently over time. When you're Zappos and there is not a phone call that goes through their hotline that somebody is not over delivering on their mission. That has nothing to do with shoes, by the way. It's everything to do with service. And how do you create that to where it's consistent over time? How do you create it to where when a new home closes, it's consistent over time? Not even necessarily consistently the same thing every time, but it's consistent over time.
That's the thing, it's the experience. So it's not only the client experience, it's also the employee experience. So at a home closing, we typically have, Chris sometimes shows up, but I'm definitely there, superintendent's there, usually the designer's there. And, we've been through this process, we've been through this relationship with these people for at least over a year. Some house we're building in 6 months, but there's still a lead up to that takes some time. And so we know what they want. We've got a client right now that I know the next closing, we're gonna have a mariachi band playing in the background. I also have this other client that would be a complete disaster. That literally, we're gonna go in there and we're just gonna be stiff as a board because that's how they like it.
You ought to strap
They walk in their
boards to
house,
your back.
they walk around, they go, this is amazing. We love the colors. That's this client.
That's
So-
when you start breakdancing, man.
No, that's not when we do that. I don't think we're gonna do that. But anyway, so my vision is that, so each client, I'm sitting down with this small group, like, hey, what's our idea for this one? And I think that it's gonna keep people more engaged. It's what we do, and it's gonna get them engaged.
It's the
by
difference
doing
that
it.
they're making, it's different, yeah.
It's them,
Yeah.
or it's us. I mean, because I'm one of them. So I'm kind of a testament to it. But that's what I envision us doing. Is we have to close a house. I mean, we finish a job every single time. If we don't, then I think we're done. But so yeah, I mean that's just what we're gonna do, and my hope is that everybody engages that way because it's something unique every time. We used to do closings. And it was the same thing. We go in there, hey, look at your house, and here's a warranty book. Let's read through the warranty book, and then we had this client. I mean, it's funny how this is all just coming together as we start to talk about this. We had a client that they showed up to their closing. They brought caviar. They brought champagne. They brought these cheeses. She had this whole spread laid out. She bought us all gifts, these unique gifts. Like my last name's Houseman, and she bought me a license plate that says Houseman.
Wow.
She had us all sign some studs back in framing, and she had this collage of
Need to
all of our
hire her.
signatures. And it's like we're sitting here like, wow, this is awesome, and no, we have to be doing this.
Yeah.
This is exactly what we need to be doing.
Yeah.
So it opened our eyes to it.
Well, think about so TJ, what you're doing. You go in and spray foam a house, you get done spray foam the house, you check a couple boxes, and you move on, right? You just move on. What would it be like is if there was something there? I put down here, based on what you guys are saying, the intentional relationship part of this, there's really 3 elements of it. One is the intentional relationship to the internal team to engage the client. The second is the intentional relationship because it gives you an opportunity for feedback. That's why that's important. And the third is intentional relationships and how we can deliver consistently is prioritizing what element of the relationship is worth diving into. So for you guys, it's the closing part of the of that relationship, where you might do some other things haphazardly, but at closing, we're going all in. And I think that's a question we've got to ask ourselves: is what point of that evolution that we're a part of their life do we say, hey, at that stage, we are all we're going to blow your mind at this stage. Here, we might feel like a landscape supply company. We might feel like a baseball game. It might feel like a property management, but at that stage, you're not even going to know where you are because it's going to be so different from what you're used to or from what you perceive and expect. So I expect a spray foam contractor to come in, do the spray foam, might spill a little bit every now and then, and clean it up and leave. That's what I expect. What I don't expect is for a spray foam contractor to come in, do their thing, spill a little bit, clean it up. Not that you guys ever spill anything, but clean it up and leave. And then all of a sudden, there's some monkey that jumps out of the air vent.
Mariachi band.
Yeah, a mariachi band walks in. I don't expect that at all. But that happens. Now what do? I talk. Oh, I talk. I talk and I talk and I talk. Man, a monkey jumped out of the vent when it was a fun monkey too. It wasn't like monkey was playing mariachi when it came out of the vent. I'm not going to talk about my spray foam because that's not exciting. I'm going to talk about the monkey that jumped out of the pen. I'm going to talk about whatever. I'm going to talk about the champagne and caviar. I thought it was so ironic that Jesse had just got done talking. The first thing that happened with the drone video, and then Chris sent me a picture of the caviar and champagne, and his text was something like, "They did it again." And then, like a few hours later, he's like, "Oh, it wasn't them. It was the homeowner that actually did it." And I thought, just that's so reinforcing. It's like the homeowner was prophetically telling you, "This is what we want. This is the part of the relationship we want you to dive in."
But I don't think it had to be the monkey, but it doesn't have to be that crazy. I mean, it's very simple. I think the biggest things that we notice is just a simple, the thank you email, I mentioned the thing that comes back out. Like, what's the next step? Is it fun? Is it unique? When people tweet pictures of the email they get from us and start putting Facebook, that's just those little touches. It doesn't have to be something unbelievably crazy. It's just that, what's that next touch point and the touch point after? I mean, that's, again, I don't know your business at all, but that's the things that I would think about right after you leave. What happens then? Is it over?
Can I actually jump in real quick? Because we work together.
Okay.
So he
I wanted to.
obviously he does all of our houses.
Yeah.
And we have a third party energy consultant that comes in
Okay.
and tests everything.
Okay.
We have to by code, but before we had to by code, we still did it anyways.
Yeah.
Just what we did. And so I get feedback from this guy saying this is one of the tightest houses I've ever seen.
Awesome.
And so I might give that feedback to you or let Chris know or whatever, but I don't know how much that really means. And,
Yeah.
and we're sitting here talking, and I'm wondering about the customer experience. So I'm the customer, but really, if you break it down to the superintendent and the relationship that your guys could have with the superintendent with doing something cool, you know, when you get the feedback like, hey, this is one of the tightest houses, how about sending the guys that worked on that job and my superintendent out to do something fun and getting that relationship to where when those guys, when they get their ticket for the morning, what job I'm going to, oh cool, I'm going to Michael's Shoreline House. Heck yeah, it's going to be a cool day.
Mhm.
I like that guy.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, the work is going to be better, I feel, because they're going to be fired up about going to work.
Mm-hmm. It's a great point. You got two customers mainly: the superintendent on new construction and a homeowner on retro.
Yeah, so it's not the direct to, yeah, it's,
Yeah.
I mean, lumber suppliers, we have two different lumber suppliers.
Yeah.
I go to my superintendents, who do you want to use? I don't care about price. Who do you want to use? I want to use SB. Or, I'm sorry.
where the price doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But my superintendents don't care about the price.
Yeah.
They just don't. They care about the experience.
Yeah.
They know that company A, I can get, if I order material now, I can get it in 4 hours. Whereas company B, it's probably going to take me 2 days, and I got to make 4 different phone calls in between.
In the time
Meanwhile, the
business.
framers over
Yeah.
here crying and barking at me because I can't get material out on site. I'm just going to call the guy that takes care of me.
Yeah.
We need to think about what Steve just said, because I guarantee you the major lumber companies around here are in a sales meeting right now trying to strategize. How do we get Shoreline's business? How do we get his business? How do we get his business? How do we get his business? And Steve, you just gave the answer. I don't care about your product. Product's a commodity, and get lumber everywhere. What experience are you going to allow me to have by working with you that I'm not going to have by working with anybody else? And so what does that experience look like? And I even heard somebody recently put it that it's tied back to status. So me working with X, what does that do to my status in society? And so we do it with the cars we drive, we do it with the houses we buy, we do all sorts of things where we don't overtly come out and say this because it seems very, very self-centered, but at the same time, we are kind of, hey, if I go with that and not that, it kind of elevates my status a little bit. Not saying that's a great thing to do, just I think we do it subconsciously sometimes. So let me recap a little bit. I know we're getting close to our time. I think it's just about 1 o'clock.
The 1 o'clock call, yeah.
Okay. So what's the purpose of customer engagement? How can I help you? So we're asking, how can we serve you? That's why we want to engage with you. So we want to serve you better. It's also how we learn, and it allows the customer to talk about us as well, to be able to do that. Then, how do you scale customer engagements? And I think the consensus was team members have to be trained on it. You have to delegate and do it all at the same. You can't abdicate it, just give it away, but delegate and do it together. And then don't overlook refunds and be generous with those sorts of things. And then finally, how do we deliver consistently over time? Number one, overtell your why, which means you got to know your why You got to have that memorized, under 15 words. We'll go over that later. Number 2, communicate your process, which means you got to know your process. And what is that process succinctly? Number 3, intentional relationships, investing in the internal team, realizing it's an opportunity for feedback, and prioritizing what element of the relationship, that continual relationship, is a really dive-in worthy element. And then finally, the part of how we deliver consistently is, Jesse, I appreciate what you said on this one. Limit the money talk and celebrate the people. Limit the money talk and celebrate the people. So even when we do tracking, I've got an idea for what we're going to do with our team Friday morning. Is we've got numbers of people we work with, but I'm going to start putting names, and so that they can see names and we can celebrate the names.